Hi there, friends of St. Paul's, and blessings on your Holy Week. This week, beginning with Thursday, we will enter into what our church calls the 3 days. The fancy church word for that is the Triduum, Triduum. And I wanted to take a moment today to just spend some time thinking about what these days are all about and why we celebrate them in the way that we do and at the time of year that we do. And to help me respond to those questions that my brain came up with, I got this book out. This book is called Keeping Time. It's one in a series of books that go with our hymnal, and this one helps us to understand different parts of the church year. And so I turned to the page of the book that says the 3 days as the center of the year. And I learned that this time of year has been sacred for many people throughout many centuries all across the earth because it's the time of the spring equinox, when the earth wakes up. As the author here says, winter and its threat of starvation have ended, plants are coming back to life, and this is a time when many people throughout the centuries and ages of human community have celebrated the gift of new life that comes in spring. And for us as Christians, this time of year is about the Passover. It's built on Passover. We know from the New Testament that Christ is killed, he's crucified, executed by the Roman Empire during Passover, and there's all kinds of symbolism for that. But the Hebrew word for Passover, Pesach, means to pass over. And for us as Christians, it has taken on a new understanding as well of passing from death to life through resurrection. And one of the ways that this played out in the early church was around baptism, because through baptism, we are joined from death to life with Christ's resurrection. And many people throughout centuries of Christianity have been baptized at this time of year. This is historically the time of the catechumenate in Lent. That means many people were learning all about their faith and preparing for baptism. Most of those people were adults who were being baptized. Now we mainly baptize infants in the Lutheran Church, and we can talk about why that is another time. But this was a time in Lent for preparation for baptism. And then many people still, not just in the past, are baptized at the Easter Vigil. Now, St. Paul's does not have an Easter Vigil. Maybe sometime we'll try it. It's kind of a fun service, but it's a long church service where you kindle a new light and you light the Paschal candle, the candle that we always have out at baptisms, and you celebrate Christ's resurrection dawn. This is something that usually happens late at night. There's a really cool vigil at Lake Park Lutheran Church here in Milwaukee on the east side. Not sure how they're doing that in response to the pandemic, but in years past, they have had a really special vigil experience. Many congregations do a sunrise Easter service that's also in response to this resurrection dawn moment being so special that in the morning, while it was still dark, the women went to the tomb and they found it empty, and the resurrection dawned all around them like the sun rise. And so we are celebrating this week the 3 days, the Triduum, beginning with Maundy Thursday, where Jesus washes his disciples' feet and institutes the Lord's Supper. It's from that we receive the sacrament of Holy Communion, where we have the words of institution, in the night in which he was betrayed. For Lutherans, it's not just a remembrance. We experience the body and blood of Christ. And then Good Friday is when Christ is executed, crucified by the Roman Empire. He hangs on the cross, and those many famous vignettes we'll read this year from the Gospel of Mark happen on Good Friday, and that's a time that we recognize the pain of suffering and the experience of death in our world and in our own lives. Saturday is our Easter Vigil, and then Sunday is the Easter Resurrection Dawn. And all of these things comprise this really important centerpiece of the year. And one interesting thing that I want to share with you is I was baptized at the Easter Vigil in 1990 in Schenectady, New York. We had a congregation that we were part of, and they had an Easter Vigil, and that's where I was baptized. And I learned from our book that Martin Luther was also baptized at the Easter Vigil. So this time of year, these 3 days, are the days when we read again the central stories of our faith, but they're also the time that we reflect on the Passover, the Pesach, from death to new life that we have in Christ as baptized children of God.